Welcome back, and we're back on our X5, and in this video we're not fixing anything on it, we're actually finally doing some modifications on it. Because what I see, in my opinion, is that 99% of the cars which come from factory have terrible fitment. This is overall a very beautiful car, but there's always a couple of things that we can do to make it look even better, because this car already has 22-inch wheels which fit this car amazingly. But the car sits very high, but the wheels just sit so far in that it just makes them look small again. So to fix this problem, we got this car lowering springs to make it a lot lower, and also spacers to get those wheels out. And to anyone who's new to this channel, what I meant by saying that we're not fixing anything on this car is that this car is a rebuild, which we previously just finished. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. So this X5 wasn't just some clean car we picked up and started modifying. This thing was a full rebuild. It had complete front end damage. We had to pull the engine, replace the chassis leg, and handle a bunch of structural work just to get it back straight again. Even the inside was messed up, but we brought the whole car back step by step. And now that it's finally back on the road and driving like it should, it's time to start the fun part. So as you just heard and saw, this car was in a pretty bad crash, and we got it completely fixed up. It looks completely brand new again. So let's get this car inside and start with the modifications. The car is now inside, and the entire process should be pretty straightforward, I think and hope. But before we actually continue, I'm going to show you guys what it's at currently on stock height. If we go around there, we can see roughly a little bit more than 10 centimeters in the front, and in the back somewhere between 8 and 9 centimeters, which is a lot. And I think the lowering springs is definitely going to do a big job for this and change the look of this car, especially also with those spacers, because this wheel actually sits super far in. The front isn't too bad, which is why we got 15 millimeters in the front, but we are going to be running 20 in the back because this is actually pretty bad looking from the top, and also from the side the wheel is pretty far in. So let's get started. And the entire plan was to give this car to my mom, which we did, and she was super happy with the car, which was super exciting as well. And since it's Valentine's Day, this is going to be a little Valentine's Day gift for my mom to lower the car and also put these spacers on, because we do that on every single car that we have. It's kind of a standard that we do. It's kind of an OEM plus as we see it, because as I said, all cars kind of have a bad fitment from factory. So that's another reason why we're doing it. All right, so we just turned the car because it's going to make working on it a little bit easier, and we're also going to have to keep the garage open even though it's a little bit cold. But the plan is to jack it up in the front and then put jacks on both of the sides so that the entire front is in the air, and that we also have the tension off of the stabilizer bar. It's just going to make it a lot easier to work on. And this car also has a jack point in the middle, which is really good and also comfortable to work on this car actually. So let's jack this car up and take the wheels off. So our plan is not to take out the entire strut and then have to put tension on the strut to get the spring out and loosen up the entire top. What we want to do is get the entire knuckle a little bit more ahead so that we can slowly loosen the top, and then the tension will go away so that we can easily take the spring out. So for that, we're going to have to disconnect this top piece right here for the knuckle, this drop link for the stabilizer bar. But before that, I'm going to take all these grommets out for these connectors, or else there's going to be too much tension on here. So that's what we're going to do first. And you always have to look at everything so that you make sure that you don't skip anything and rip anything out, especially with these plastic connectors and stuff like that, because this is for the dampening of the entire strut, because we are going to tilt the entire strut forward, so we don't want any tension on this. The drop link is now out, and kind of the only thing that we now have to do is to take out this bolt up here, which connects up here, which holds the entire knuckle up more or less. We put the jack underneath so that we can control the height of where it is, so that we can lower it slowly so that it doesn't just flop out. So now we're going to take this one out, and the reason why we're doing it this way and not kind of taking the entire strut out, to not do this entire steps of having to loosen everything from the lower control arm and then taking the entire strut out and stuff like that. This just saves time. We don't know if it actually works. This is how we usually do it on our other cars, but we're just going to try it. If it doesn't work, we'll just do it the other way. Everything on the bottom should be disconnected now. Now we can move on to the top, and usually if you would do the other procedure, we would take out these 3 top screws, which attaches a strut mount to the strut strut tower, but as I said, we're doing it the other way and trying to keep the upper strut mount inside so that we can release the tension and get the spring out automatically. So that's what this center bolt is for. And this strut brace is a little bit in the way, so this is what we're gonna do first. Take this bolt out, take the engine cover off so that we can reach the other bolt. Now we're gonna let it down slowly and see what happens. So now we have it lowered and it is working by far. We tied the entire knuckle up so that it doesn't pop out. And the strut is also loose on the top. Now the only thing where it's connected is on the bottom on that control arm right there, which is what we're gonna do now. And then we should be able to take the strut out. I said that we're not gonna take the strut out, but what I meant is that we're not gonna take the strut out with the upper strut mount, and then we're gonna need tensioners or whatever. This is just an easy step to go around the entire tensioner stuff. So now let's get that bolt out, and then we should have the strut out with the spring. And that is now one entire strut out, and we now have full access to the spring. Don't need to take off the top mount and need to put tension on it whatsoever. So this is definitely, I think, in my opinion, a little bit easier. So now let's get this off and put the new one on. The old one is out, and here we now have a side-by-side comparison of the lowering spring, which we're gonna be putting in, and the original one. Here we can see that this one is definitely just shorter at looking at it. And a lot of people would already say that that is the difference, what it makes when it's on the car kind of, but it also has to do with the material, how thick it is. You can see that this one is thicker, but it kind of has something around it. This one is, I think, just powder coated. There's a lot of things that go into it and what makes the difference of it. So let's put it in, put everything back together, and then head on to the other side. The bolt is now in on the bottom. Now we can do this top part and kind of guide it into its place because this is super important. We have it on the jack so we can pump it up slowly, and it's super important to get it in its right position. We need to do this outside ring first to get it right, and then also the one in the middle where the nut at the end goes into that small hole out there. So I definitely recommend another person looking at the top to kind of guide you where to go. So this is what we're gonna do next. Now we have it all tightened up on the top, so we can close this off, and then we can also put this brace back. Everything is put back together. We tighten everything down, put all the wires back, double checked everything. So this side should be good. So we're gonna put the wheel back on and then continue on the other side. Now we can also go ahead and throw these spacers on as well so that we don't have to take the wheel off again and put it back on. In the front, as I said before, we're running 15 millimeters, and we also need longer bolts because we put it on the wheel and then put the bolt through, and then we only had like 5 millimeters of thread, which is definitely not enough. So we have longer ones. As you can see, these are definitely longer and will do the job. So let's throw it on and see what it looks like. And you also have to make sure that when you buy longer bolts that they actually also fit, because you can also go too long and then you would just go all the way through and push the brake disc and just cause a lot of damage. So you do have to make sure that it's the right length. So what we did, we just hand tightened them all the way through, and as you can see, it's not moving at all, and there's nothing rubbing that we can hear. So these definitely fit. And just another test to make sure that those bolts actually work. There's nothing rubbing. So I think we're in the clear with this one. Let's do the other side. Sorry for the interruption, but it would help out a lot if you could take your time real quick to like and subscribe. You guys have been showing a lot of support recently. It's completely free. You can always change your mind later. And we have very, very big plans on this channel, but let's continue. It's the next day, and now we're gonna do the front right side. And since we already did the front left side, this one should be a little bit faster since we now know what we need to do. And the first step is gonna be taking off all the lines and also the connectors off of the grommets, so those have no tension, so those won't have any damages later. So that's gonna be the first step. Next up is the drop link for the stabilizer bar. And then we can already do this one up here, which just has one bolt and one nut on this side. Now after loosening it, we tie the entire knuckle up to the wishbone down there so that it doesn't fall off or anything, and that we have it out of the way. We also put the entire knuckle onto the jack so that it just doesn't drop down and that we can let it down slowly and just have good control of it. Then we can take out this strut brace so that we now have access to this nut which holds in the entire strut. And that's now also the strut out with the spring now also, which we can take out already. And the new one can go back in. And when putting the spring on, you need to make sure that you have it in the right place because there are these grooves where you kind of have to push it against. And then you can see parts like these where it also sits on, but the spring is not completely straight on it. And if I would put it straight, it's not in that groove anymore, which would kind of look a little bit weird, but that will settle once it's in the car because the spring doesn't sit 100% straight in it. It will set when it's in the car, so now we have it put back on. Let's throw it back in the car. Now we're gonna try to get the knuckle back up to here so that it's not floating in the air anymore. And then after that, we're gonna try to get the strut back in its original position. So now we finally have that top pin of the entire strut through the hole. It's a little bit hard and definitely took a little bit to get it in because it doesn't just pop in by itself. And there's just a lot of tension on the bottom that's going on, and then you have to push it forwards. So it took a little bit, but we have it in place now and we can put the nut back on. And then this strut can also go back on. Everything on the top is now done as well. Now we can continue on the bottom, put everything together, tighten everything down, and then this should also be done. The front right side is now completely done, which means that the wheel can go back on with the new spacer as well. And then that means that the front is completely done. And then we can also take a look at how much it actually changed. And that right there is the front completely done. With springs like these, when you do lowering springs, they take a little bit to settle down and then actually notice the difference. That is slower. You can see a little bit here and there, but it's not a huge change, so we can't really say a lot about that right now. But definitely with the spacers, the wheels sit very, very flush now, and the 15s do a very, very good job. So I definitely recommend 15s on these. And the other side is the same thing. All the way at the end, we're gonna drive the car a little bit and then also show you guys what it looks like right there. But again, spacers did a really, really good job. So let's turn this car around and start on the back. And what's also pretty interesting on the X5 is that the strut, because the rear also has struts, back here under this little padding right here are all the screws for the strut. It has 4 bolts right here. So I think it should be pretty simple, but we haven't done it before, so let's check out the other side. And the rear is definitely way different than the front, which is kind of obvious, I'd guess. And this and the back does have a control arm, which attaches to the, I think, the rear subframe. And it has 1 bolt, which is for the camber, so that you can adjust it more inwards or more outwards. And we looked around and we probably do have to take that one out. And since that one is for alignment and, as I said, the camber, we are gonna mark it to have a rough position where it was before, so that it's not completely crooked after. We are gonna do an alignment after, but this is just to get a rough position after so that it's kind of straight so that we can get it to the alignment. And as we can also see here in the pictures, the left and the right side on the rear of the control arm for the camber, that one nut, we can see that they are completely opposite, and also from factory that they have a lot of tolerance and a lot of wiggle room that they allow. So they're completely polar opposite kind of, but we put 2 lines on it in case we wipe one of them off or anything happens to it. So just to be sure, we put 2 lines. So we just looked at it a little bit deeper to kind of figure out what steps we're gonna take on how to get this rear strut out. And since this has a control arm, we do have to drop it. We're not gonna drop it completely. We're gonna leave the back bolt in, which we just marked up. And then we're gonna take out the front 3 screws, which attach to the knuckle, to the strut itself, and then to the sway bar. So we're gonna start off with the sway bar, then the strut, and then the front one. And then it should drop, I think, hopefully. And then we should be able to get the strut out. Sounds simple, but let's see if it works. Now we have the entire knuckle lifted up in the air and completely loosened from the lower control arm. So now the only thing that should be left is this bolt, which attaches the strut to the lower control arm. Now that we have the control arm on the bottom out the way, we can start loosening these 4 bolts on the top. And that right there is the rear one out. It's a little bit of a struggle to get it out and a little bit annoying. Well, we managed to get it out, but we didn't get it out how we did it in the front. The spring still has tension on it, so we need the tensioners, like these little claws that pull it together, and then we can loosen the top, and then we should be able to get it out. Now, after putting enough tension on, we can see that it's not completely loose at the top yet. You can go all the way until it's loose if you wanted to, but that will probably take hours if you would do this all the way. But we have it all the way clamped down and have a lot of tension off already. So what we're gonna do now is take the top bolt off, and it shouldn't go up anymore, shouldn't have tension on this. It'll maybe go up around 1/4 of an inch and have a little pop that goes up, but that's normal. So let's try to get the center bolt off. There we have it, the spring is now off and it's still under tension, so we have to loosen this slowly before we take it off, but finally managed to do it, and let's get the new one in. And that is the old spring out, and now we can put the new one in. Now that the strut is in place, we already have 2 screws in. We can put the rest in and tighten those up. Now that the strut is all tightened up on the top, we can finish up on the bottom. So we're gonna put the lower control arm back up, put all the nuts and bolts back, and tighten everything up. Now we're just jacking up to get some pre-tension on it, and then once we have a good amount of tension on it, we'll tighten everything up. And the reason why we put tension on it like this and tighten it up after is so that we have tension on everything as if it were in real life, as if the car was sitting. And that's the way you should do it, so that the bushings have their normal position and that there's no more tension in it. So let's tighten everything up. Everything is now tightened up, which means that we can also drop it now, and then we're gonna put all the connectors back. And just like the other wheels, we can put it back on, and also the new spacer. Now we can do the last one, and this one should also go a little bit faster than the other one because we already did the other one. Now know what steps we need to take, so hopefully this one is a little bit faster. First, we're gonna loosen everything on the bottom so that we can swing the control arm out the way. Now we can also loosen these top bolts to finally get the entire strut out. And that's the last and final strut out. So now let's get this one out and put the new one in. Now that we have the new spring installed, we can put the strut back in. And then we're also done in the back. Now everything's completely done, connected up and tightened down, which now means the wheel can go back on again with the spacer. And the spacer just slides on like this. Just align the holes, and then it's just on there like that, and then we can throw it on. Once again, sorry for the interruption, but it'll help out a lot if you could take your time real quick to like and subscribe. It's the most important right now for a channel to keep growing because we have very, very big plans on this channel. The car is now down and everything is finished up on the suspension, but before we continue, I'm gonna torque the wheels down. The wheels are torqued down and the suspension is completely done now. And in my opinion, I can see a huge difference already and it looks better. On the spacers, also really, really good. Some people would maybe do 5 millimeters more, maybe less. But in my opinion, I think it's perfect how it is because you don't want it standing out too much and looking all funky. But it's dark outside, so we can't really see that much of the car. So I'll see you guys tomorrow after we drive this car a little bit so the springs and everything can settle in. It's the next day and we also drove the car a little bit so these springs are settled in a little bit, but we're not completely done. We have one more modification or one thing that we do want to change on this car, and this is the front grille. The car would come with a gloss black one, and we got this chrome one from the front end, which we bought, so we just had it in there temporarily whilst we were trying to find a gloss black one, because they cost around $300 to $400, which we didn't really want to spend. So we have one right here, so we're gonna get this out of the packaging and get the old one out and get the new one in. Here's the new one, and the entire thing is just clipped in. One thing that we do have to do is the camera, which just has one plug. So we're gonna try to get this one off. Just have to pop open the hood. Then there's a couple clips on top and around, so shouldn't be too complicated. So let's get this one out now. And that is the old one out already, which wasn't too complicated. And yeah, now we can get the new one in. And there is the new grille on. Looks, in my opinion, way better and more aggressive. We asked a lot of people what they think, if they like the gloss black one more or the chrome one, and it was honestly kind of 50-50. In my opinion, I like this one more because everything else is black, besides kind of the headlights, which is kind of throwing it off up here. But besides that, I think it looks way more aggressive now and just suits the car a lot better. But let me know in the comments down below if you prefer the chrome one or do you prefer the gloss black one. There's still one important thing that I forgot that we still have to do on this car, and that is the hood emblem right here. And you're probably wondering why, because this is the normal one and this car is from 2023, which is the 50th anniversary, I believe, because it also had the 50th anniversary badge, the BMW badge. It has it on the back, and we also saved this one from the old hood, which was on the car. There's nothing wrong with this one, but Diego put this on here after we painted the car. He just took it off the old hood and put it on here. So we are gonna swap this one out. So let's get this one out first. We took all the old tape off of here and have it completely clean. Have the new one on here so we can peel that off, and then just gotta make sure to put it on the right way. Has 2 guide pins, so can't really do anything wrong. But before I peel this off, the reason why we even have this little piece on here is because when we look back, when we finished the interior, that was kind of to close off that chapter that we finished the interior, because this was on the emblem, the BMW logo of the steering wheel airbag, and that was the last and final part that we did on the interior. So we peeled it off to finish that chapter. Now that the car is done from the outside and just completely done, we can now peel this one off to kind of close this chapter to say that this car is also done now. The car's completely done now, and it's also the small things that make a big difference on this car, definitely. I think that this emblem definitely looks way better than the original one. Some people like it, some people don't. I definitely like it, but let me tell you a little bit more about this car and what this car can actually do. And like I said at the start, this car was a pretty crazy rebuild and is a beautiful car and will always stay a beautiful car. Definitely also makes a lot of power, which we'll show you guys in a minute. From every angle where you look at this car, it just looks super nice and super clean. Also now with the lowering springs, definitely makes it a lot more aggressive. I really like the rear end as well on this car, but let me show you how much of a difference the lowering springs made. Here we can see a small difference in the rear because the car still needs to settle a little bit, and over the time it will be a little lower. And here in the front we can see a much bigger difference, and it just turned out absolutely amazing. But I think the lower springs definitely made a huge difference on this car, especially the spacers also made it look way more aggressive. And I think it'll also look a little bit better after the alignment when the wheels come out a little bit more. We're not going to be doing the alignment in this video. It's going to be a little open mystery for you guys. But again, this car has nothing where it screams and says that it's a rebuild. Nothing. You can look at panel grabs all you want. Nothing will tell you that it is a rebuild besides the little sticker in the door jamb, which it says that it's a rebuild, and also on the title. But besides that, this is a perfectly fine car. Everything works, and we just learned so much stuff on this car itself and are super proud of how far we came. We took out the entire engine, we did structural parts, we took out the entire chassis leg. We just did so much on this car, and this car definitely means a lot to me. So now we're going to show you guys a couple of outside shots and also POV clips from driving it on the inside. We're going to launch it a little bit. Not too sure if this car actually has launch control or not, but we'll have to figure that one out in a minute. think the car does have launch control because I now did the little kickdown as well, and it held it around 3,000 RPM. So it looks like it does have launch control. It definitely has a lot of power. That's all I can say to that. The car is pretty rough when shifting it. You can definitely feel it. And yeah, that's also not the best road right now, but it's good to test out this car. The car also sounds really nice. I don't know if it's picking it up on camera, but it kind of sounds like a supercharger a little bit, like a little whine at the start. And I think first and second gear, kind of a small whine that this car has. It just kind of sounds like a supercharger. Not really too sure what that is. And what we also did with the car, what we read online, is because this car does have valves in the back, but it's not like on a competition where you press the M1 or M2 buttons that it then opens the valves. It's just when you are really pushing the car, when you're full throttle, then it opens the valves a little bit. So what we then did, we kind of pushed the car and then we went in the rear, and then whilst the valves were opened, we pulled the fuse, and the car is now a little bit louder and does have burbles a little bit. And as you guys just saw yourself, this is definitely a beast in disguise. You wouldn't really expect it to make that much power and have a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. It's definitely a nice car. You can daily it, you can have fun with it. It's a very nice car and very practical as well. But let me know what you guys think of this car and how it turned out. I think it turned out very nice with the lowering springs, with the spacers and everything. Just an amazing car overall. If you haven't seen the rebuild series on this, definitely check that one out. Also, make sure to check out my TikTok and Instagram. It's linked down in the bio and also on the screen right here. I will be posting more on there in the future and being more consistent with that as well. So make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the post notification. Drive safe and stay tuned.